Ozempic. It is literally the hottest drug in the country right now.
We hear about Ozempic day in and day out these days. Amidst all the buzz, we're missing the mark. We're not talking about physiology. We're not talking about genetics. We're not talking about our hormones. We are absolutely missing the mark on the physiology behind weight gain and weight loss, and what weight has become is a vanity issue, and we want to break that today. I'm Dr. Disha Narang. I'm an endocrinologist and obesity medicine specialist. I've treated thousands of patients, and I've spoken nationally about the epidemic of obesity and anti-obesity medications. There's so much more to this story, and we have so much to teach you today. I'm here to empower you with the knowledge that you need to understand weight loss medications and make informed decisions that may align with your health and well-being. In this session, we're going to dive into the intricate physiology of weight gain and weight loss, exploring effective strategies to address them. We're also going to dive into the various types of anti-obesity medications that are available. We want to understand their mechanisms of action, potential benefits, and associated risks. It doesn't stop there. We'll also discuss what not to do when pursuing weight loss and uncover what truly constitutes a healthy and sustainable approach. Together, we're going to cut through the noise and arm you with the tools to navigate the complex world of anti-obesity medication. Join me in the trendy weight loss medications, Will They Work For You session. I can't wait to guide you as we navigate the world of weight loss and help you achieve a healthier you. Referring to the attention that these medications are getting in the media, while they have been excellent resources in the world of weight management, we've had such success with patients losing weight and keeping it off. Those patients have been on these therapies for a few years now, and they are potentially going to be on these therapies for the years to come, because as a chronic disease, we plan to treat obesity long term. And so the issue here is that as a society, we really view obesity as a disease of vanity, that this was someone's fault, that they ate too much, and that's why they're a certain weight or have diabetes or another disease related to it. And that's just not true. So when we look at the disease of obesity, it is very much neurohormonally mediated, right? The brain is the biggest organ that modulates weight gain and weight loss. Our hormones talk from our gut, our fat tissue, our muscle tissue. They talk to our brain and signal back. And so that is what really controls weight gain, weight loss, appetite regulation. And then our environment, of course, contributes to it as well. So we have a couple different sources of weight gain, right? We have what's going on the inside, and that's sort of our baseline genetics, our metabolism, the way our hormones talk to each other, how they surge or how they don't surge. But then we have our outside environment. We can't control our genetics and a lot of what's going on the inside. What we can control is what our environment is. And unfortunately, we live in an obesogenic world. When we have a fast food restaurant on every corner of this country, or marketing that markets processed food and junk food and convenient food, this is the foundation for why we are in an obesity epidemic, right? And so someone may have these perfect genetics where they can eat anything in the world and not gain a pound. And then we have the folks that no matter what they eat or what they touch, they tend to gain weight. And that's not someone's fault. But the reason why these medications have been resourceful is that for those people that do have the propensity to have a higher stimulation of the hunger hormone, for example, these medications can help suppress that. And they can improve insulin sensitivity. And that can actually really help someone long term. It turns off that chatter in the brain to cause someone to increase their drive to eat. Right? And so that's exactly where this can be resourceful. However, this is not a short-term solution. This is not a medication to take to get ready for a vacation or your wedding or a certain event in your life or get into a dress. This is something that if you take it for a month or two, you are likely to potentially lose weight. But if you stop the medication, you will likely regain it. And so what happens is that while you're taking the medication, there is suppression of the hunger hormone. When we stop the medication, the suppression falls off. So the hunger hormone goes back up. And so that is what's driving our ability to be able to eat more or eat less. It also guides our sensation of fullness or hunger. And that's exactly what these medications are doing, right? It also slows down some gastric emptying. But, as we've studied these more, it works less in the GI system and more in the brain. And that's why they have been as effective as they have. But again, we don't want to necessarily go along with all sensationalized media around it because, of course, everyone's talking about it. Every movie star is talking about how they're on it. They can certainly afford it out of pocket as well. That's not reflective of the general population. And so it's a little bit of a different story with people who are in the real world. And while this is very applicable to all the millions of people that suffer from obesity, and they may very well be eligible for the medication, we have to look at this as a chronic disease, not a disease of vanity that, hey, because you ate too much, you are at this weight. And if you take this medication for a couple months, you should be good to go. And your obesity issue is going to be fixed. It doesn't work like that.
I'm Dr. Disha Narang. I'm an endocrinologist, obesity and culinary medicine specialist. I completed my fellowship and residency training at University of Chicago and went on to then get board certified in obesity medicine and culinary medicine. People often talk about food or their confusion with food. And obviously, as the obesity epidemic is getting more and more persistent, especially as we're looking at half of our population being in the overweight or obese category in 7 years in 2030, more and more people are needing weight management. I think from an endocrine perspective, I'm kind of doing the high level view in terms of why do we gain weight or lose weight in the first place.
So we're going to talk about the physiology of weight gain in this masterclass. And so a lot of weight gain and weight loss, as we mentioned, is neurohormonal. And so there are so many different hormones that interact with lots of tissues in our body. We'll break it down into the brain, the gut, and our fat tissue. There are many other areas of our body and tissues as well that our hormones interact with. However, those are three of the main areas. So what happens is that there is an interplay of hormones between our brain and our gut. And when someone's hungry, their ghrelin hormone goes up. When someone's full, their leptin hormone goes up. And so this is, again, there's several other hormones that play a part in this, but these are the two main hormones that help us understand, are we hungry or are we full? Now, people who deal with weight issues, they may actually have a lesser quantity or a lesser response from the leptin hormone, for example. Or they might have deficiencies of other hormones. And there are several genetic disorders now that have been associated with long-term obesity as well, like melanocortin, for example. That's another hormone. And so there might be something off with the hormone. There might be something off with the receptor that responds to the hormone. So there's lots of different ways that this can work. But when we look at this, it's basically an interplay of when one's high, the other's low, and when one's low, the other's high. And so it goes back and forth. And this is how actually a lot of our hormones work. It's a feedback mechanism. And that's how our thyroid levels work. That's how our reproductive hormones work, our cortisol levels. It's all within a feedback loop. And so our bodies are really smart, right? When, something's too high, it'll push the other thing down. If something's too low, it'll bring one thing back up. And so our bodies are very attuned to this. And that's why I think physiology is so interesting. But this is exactly what's happening with weight gain as well. And so when we talk about weight loss, let's say someone cuts their caloric intake down to 1,000 calories a day. It's not that much. So they may, of course, lose weight. They might get off 20, 25 pounds, maybe more. They might be exercising a lot, but their weight could come off really quick. However, what happens is that, let's say you lose that 25, 30, maybe more, and you cut your calories and you're exercising, all of that sort of stuff. What happens is that as we're losing that amount of weight, our ghrelin hormone is going way up. So what happens is that once you hit a certain point, that ghrelin hormone's really high and it's causing us to want to eat again. And this is exactly why it's tough to keep weight off with just diet and exercise. And it brings me to the discussion of why obesity is absolutely not a disease of willpower, right? Because when our hormones are controlling all of these things,
even if you starved yourself all day and you lost all that weight, our hormones are doing something else, right? Our ghrelin hormone is raging because our bodies want to get back to that more comfortable spot that it was at maybe 30 plus pounds ago. And so then ghrelin hormone goes up, our hunger goes up, our cravings go up, and it drives our bodies to want to eat more calories again. And so then our weight goes up. And so this is what happened with yo-yo dieting, right? When we cut those calories, it doesn't matter what diet it is, when we cut those calories, we lose that weight, our ghrelin is going to go way up after a certain point and want us to get back into that comfortable state of homeostasis again. And this is exactly where medical weight management can actually really helpful. And so when we do look at medications, for example, there's a lot obviously in the media about GLP-1 agonists. They work in separate ways, and we can talk about that a little bit further. But one of the main ways that GLP-1 agonists and a lot of the other weight loss medications work is that they suppress ghrelin. When we suppress ghrelin, our hunger goes down. That's what allows for long-term weight loss. And so looking back at this, we have to understand that because of this interplay of hormones, obesity is not a disease of willpower. This is not a disease of someone who decided to eat a lot of fast food for certain amounts of time in their lives and gained weight. So much of this is determined by our genetics. So much of this is determined by the way that our hormones interact with one another and our brain and our gut. And so when we talk about the willpower behind someone's weight gain or weight loss, it's an incorrect characterization because you are characterizing someone in a certain way. We're playing into the stigma that it was their fault that they gained weight. And that's absolutely not the case. Certain people have genetic propensity to gain weight. And what makes that worse is our environment. And so when we are surrounded by, especially in the US, an obesogenic environment, that means Americans don't have as ready access to public transportation. We rely on our cars a lot, and people may live in the suburbs. They might live in a rural part of the country. They don't have ready access to walk to the train station and walk to work and that kind of thing. But then the food environment plays a large role in this as well. The amount of processed foods, the refined carbohydrates that have gone up in our dietary patterns. And that's everywhere. That's worldwide, right? The obesity epidemic is happening worldwide right now. So something really needs to be addressed. We can't necessarily change our genetics, but certainly, yes, we can change our environment.